So this happened a couple of years ago. I was driving home from a work trip, exhausted after hours on the road. Around midnight, I found myself in this tiny town called Ashburn, and I figured I'd just pull over and find a place to crash for the night. That's when I saw a little sign for Ashburn Inn, an old, worn-out motel that looked like it had seen better days. But I was too tired to care. I just wanted a bed and a few hours of sleep. When I checked in, the guy at the desk barely looked up. He just handed me the key, mumbled something about room 7, and went back to reading his newspaper. The whole place had a weird vibe, dim lighting, peeling wallpaper, a smell that reminded me of mildew and something sour. But I brushed it off, thinking maybe I was just being paranoid. I reached my room, and as soon as I stepped inside, a wave of cold hit me. It was freezing, way colder than the rest of the motel. I figured the heating must have been broken, so I grabbed a blanket and tried to settle in. That's when I noticed something weird. The window was cracked open just a sliver, like someone had left it that way intentionally. I shut it tight and locked it, hoping it would help warm the room up a bit. Around 3 a.m., I woke up to the sound of shuffling. It was faint but distinct, like someone was walking around in the room. At first, I thought maybe it was just a dream. But as my eyes adjusted to the dark, I saw something that made my blood run cold. There, in the corner by the window, was a shadow, a figure just standing there, watching me. It was tall and unnaturally thin, its head tilted at an odd angle, like it was studying me. I tried to speak, to ask who it was, but my throat felt tight, as if something was gripping me, holding me in place. All I could do was lie there, paralyzed, as it slowly moved closer. The air grew colder, and my breath turned to fog. I could feel its presence looming over me, a crushing weight pressing down on my chest. Just when I thought I couldn't take it anymore, it vanished. The room was empty, the shadow gone, and I could finally breathe again. I didn't sleep a wink the rest of the night. At dawn, I packed up and went straight to the front desk, demanding to know what was wrong with that room. The clerk looked up, eyes wide, and just shook his head. "Room 7?" he muttered, his voice barely a whisper. "That's impossible. No one stayed in room 7 in years." I didn't stick around to ask questions. I just got in my car and drove, but to this day, I still can't shake the feeling that something from that room followed me. Every now and then, I wake up in the middle of the night and feel that same chilling presence by my bed. Months passed after my night at Ashburn Inn, but the experience haunted me. Every time I tried to sleep, I'd feel the weight of eyes watching me, lurking in the dark corners of my room. It got so bad that I moved apartments, hoping that maybe, just maybe, I could leave that feeling behind. But one night, I woke up with a start. My room was freezing cold, so cold I could see my breath fogging up in the air, just like in that motel room. I reached over to my nightstand for my phone, needing the comfort of its light. But it was gone. I turned my head and froze. My phone was on the floor, right by the closet door, which was now ajar. I couldn't remember opening that door, ever. My heart pounded as I tried to talk myself down, convincing myself it was just a trick of the mind. But then I heard it, a faint, raspy whisper. It sounded like my name, as if something broken and ancient was trying to call out to me. The whisper grew louder, and in the dark, I saw something move. A shadow, thin, towering, with that unmistakable tilt of the head, emerged from the closet, gliding slowly towards my bed. The dim moonlight caught the edges of its hollow eyes, its jaw twisted into an unnatural smile. My mind screamed at me to move, but my body was paralyzed, as if the air itself had turned to cement. Then it leaned down, inches from my face, and I felt an icy hand press against my chest, pushing down until I could barely breathe. Its face was close enough that I could make out every cracked detail of its skin, its mouth moving as it repeated my name in a slow, agonizing whisper. Finally, with one last push, it vanished, leaving me gasping for air. I thought that was the end of it, and I was wrong. Every night since, I've heard whispers in my room, felt a freezing chill whenever I'm alone, and sometimes, when I close my eyes, I still see that shadow, lurking just behind my reflection in the mirror, waiting. And I know, deep down, that one night, it'll come back, and this time, I won't be able to escape. It didn't end that night, as much as I wanted to believe it had. The whispers became my constant companion, following me from room to room, though they were always clearest when I was alone in the dark. I tried ignoring them, telling myself they were figments of my imagination, but that cold presence was unmistakable. It became harder to function. My friends noticed how I'd gone pale, how I barely slept and jumped at the slightest sounds. But I didn't dare tell anyone what was happening, afraid they'd think I'd lost it. Then, one night, things escalated. I'd finally managed to fall into a fitful sleep when I was jolted awake by a harsh, grating sound. It was like nails on glass, slowly scraping. I sat up in bed, my heart pounding, and realized the sound was coming from my bathroom mirror. I could make out faint shapes moving in the darkness. Gathering every ounce of courage I had, I got out of bed and flicked on the bathroom light. At first, I thought the mirror was fogged over, but as I stepped closer, I saw it clearly. Smeared across the glass were deep scratches, and my name was scratched out in large, jagged letters. Underneath my name, in uneven handwriting, were the words, "Remember me." A chill shot down my spine as the lights flickered, plunging the bathroom into total darkness. I reached out blindly, fumbling to find the door, and that's when I felt it, a freezing grip on my wrist. It was like ice digging into my skin, holding me in place. I tried to pull away, but the grip tightened. Then, in the mirror, I could see it again. The figure stood behind me, head tilted, staring at me with those hollow, dark eyes. Its mouth twisted into a grimace, and I realized it was mouthing the same phrase over and over. I couldn't hear it, but I knew what it was saying. "Remember me." Finally, with a forceful tug, I broke free and stumbled out of the bathroom. I locked the door, though I knew it wouldn't help. But I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I noticed bruises on my wrist where I'd felt the icy grip. They were shaped like bony fingers. At that point, I was desperate. I started researching hauntings, trying to find some explanation, something I could do to stop it. I went through countless forums, read books on spirits, even reached out to a paranormal investigator. Most of the advice was the same. Move on, forget about it, don't let it consume you. But how could I forget something that wouldn't let me go? One night, while sifting through my emails, I found one that stood out. It was from an anonymous sender with the subject line, "Ashburn Inn." My heart raced as I opened it. The email was brief but chilling. "You can't escape. It's part of you now." Since then, the haunting has only gotten worse. Every mirror in my home now bears scratches. I've tried replacing them, but every time the scratches reappear, along with those words, "Remember me." I feel it, even now as I'm writing this, standing just out of sight, waiting for the moment I let my guard down. I don't know how long I can keep this up, but I have one last plan. If you're reading this and I haven't returned, remember my story. Because if I'm right, if I've become a part of whatever curse haunts the Ashburn Inn, then maybe it's only a matter of time before it finds you too.